Hey friends, welcome back and welcome to another freezer meal prep. I have a couple of things on my list today that I want to get stocked up in my freezer. Of course, we're going to focus on some breakfast items as we usually do when it comes to freezer prepping. And I'm going to start out by making a big sheet pan of apple cinnamon baked oatmeal. Doesn't that just sound so yummy? I don't think that apples and cinnamon need to be confined to the fall season. I think you can eat it any time of the year. And I was scrolling through Pinterest the other day and just scrolled past a big pan of it with apples laid on top, and it just inspired me to make that. Plus, we haven't had baked oatmeal for a while, so I know that my household will really like that. And I'm starting out by putting some eggs into my mixer over here because this is going to be a protein boost to the baked oatmeal. Plus, this is a pretty healthy oatmeal. We don't have any processed sugars going into it. We're going to sweeten it with maple syrup. As a lot of you know, we eat a lot of gluten-free friendly things in our house. It's not that we're 100% gluten-free, but we do a lot because there's a couple of the family members that need that. And so baked oatmeal is a great gluten-free breakfast option, especially whenever you don't eat as much toast and things like that. And so making it in a big batch like this is so helpful. Also, I believe that I multiplied this recipe by 3, and as usual, the recipes will be linked in the description box below if you guys need them to recreate these recipes. And I think that one of my best tips when it comes to making freezer prep things is to make big pans of stuff. Sheet pans are my BFF. If you guys have not watched for long, maybe you don't know that, but I make so much in my sheet pans, and honestly, at this point in my life, I only have 2 of them. And the other week, I forget what I was doing, but I found something that I really need to get another, like a third or a fourth, because I just use them so much. And it's just something that I've just made do with, and I'm realizing that it would definitely pay off for me at times to have more sheet pans. So I'm going to leave my sheet pans also linked below because that was a recent request and you all, I guess, couldn't find them on my Amazon shop, which needs updating. I know, I'm sorry. I am terrible at updating my Amazon shop. So moving back into our baked oatmeal, we are going to just mix all of this together. We've got our sweetener and all that good stuff. And you're going to want to grease your pan as well, just to help everything pop out a bit easier. And then you're going to spread all of this out. At first, I was a bit intimidated because I felt like this was very liquid, watery, but it baked up perfectly. So don't fret if you dump it out and you're like, what did I just do? It does bake up well. And then I just sliced the apples into these fun little like fans, and I was hoping to have one of those on each of my servings and then just freeze them in gallon bags, and then we can pull out the amount of servings that we need. And our family loves cinnamon, and so I shook a lot of extra cinnamon over the top of this just because we enjoy it so much. So you're gonna pop that in the oven, and as usual, I did start off with putting something in the oven. A lot of times whenever I'm doing freezer preps, I try to start off with something that's going to take a while to bake so that that can go ahead and bake while I'm doing other things. Multitasking is the name of the game when it comes to freezer prep and meal prepping in general. Just having as many things going as at once to save time is really key. A little matcha break from our meal prep today to tell you about this week's sponsor, Avon. You all know that I have been sharing with you my goals in just getting more active and gaining more strength, and Avon is helping me accomplish that. The Avon Strong Rower has been a tool to help me get active every day. day. It is just so motivating and fun, to be honest, and my husband has also been loving it as well. Avon has ingeniously coupled physical exercise and gameplay. I know for me, if I have something that changes up my physical movement every day, it really just makes it more enjoyable and makes me gravitate towards getting movement in more often. With Avon, I can play, stream, train, or compete. Whatever my goals are, I can accomplish them with the Avon Strong Rower. The games are so fun, and there is an Avon community to where you can compete against someone else that is actually working out as you are. You can also add your friends in and compete together. As a really busy mom, I love the aspect that I am able to have the rower in my home, and it's something that I can go and do any point of the day, no matter what my schedule is like. It's just nice to have it all there. I can follow a plan if I want to, and I'm able to just access it when I need it. Whenever the rower arrived at my door, it was really simple to put together. Plus, you all know that I definitely talk about things that are easy to store and don't take up too much space in your home. The rower is 7 feet, but you can put it upright and store it anywhere, and it takes up very little space. With 100 pounds of resistance to work with, you can get in low impact, full body workouts. Form is super important whenever you're rowing, and the cloud seat really helps with that. It just gives you the support that you need to be able to row efficiently. As much as I love the scenic rides and rowing my way across the world, and of course the competitive games, I'm also able to use apps like YouTube and watch some of my favorite channels and just watch whatever I'm in the mood for that day. And if I want to play a game, I can do that. If I want to watch one of my favorite channels, I can do that. It's just so flexible, and I can do whatever feels most comfortable to me for that workout that day. Right now, Avon has the best prices of the year, and you can get an additional $50 off with my code Adaline50. If you guys want a way to change up your movement, get a little bit of a different workout in, definitely check out Avon. You can find the info in the description box below or scan the QR code here. So the next thing that we're going to make and what I'm heading into here is I am going through a phase of testing out gluten-free pizza crusts. In fact, if you have a really good recipe for me, please leave it in the description box below. I would love to hear what your go-to is when it comes to gluten-free pizza crust. But even if you're not gluten-free, I would say that making pizza crust for the freezer is so helpful. And one little hack that I've discovered through the years of making pizza crust for the freezer, especially if your freezer is full a lot of the time like mine is to make them more like a half pizza size instead of a full-on like 12-inch crust. They're just a lot easier to stash in your freezer. Plus then, say like part of your family wants one type of pizza and another part wants another type of pizza, you can easily put the toppings that different people want in the household onto the smaller pizza crusts. So we're starting out by doing the yeast, and then this also had some herbs in it, and it also had some eggs in it and some oil. And my verdict fully on this, just to be transparent, it wasn't our absolute favorite recipe when it comes to gluten-free crust. I think it worked out well. I think if I did it again, I would work with the crust a little faster. I kind of felt like they deflated a little bit, but also I will admit that our family generally prefers more of a thinner crust, and this is a deep dish pizza crust recipe, and so I think I need to find a thin crust recipe and or make this recipe again, because it wasn't that it was terrible or anything, but I think just more the shape and size or the thickness of the crust was more of a bigger deal to us. So I did triple this recipe as well, and what I did is just took my dough cutter and cut it into 3 pieces, and then each of those crusts I also cut in half. So I ended up with a couple different pizzas out of this, and the instructions stressed to not press this crust down very hard. Allow it to have as much air as possible and rise the best to the best of its ability. So I didn't smash it out with a rolling pin or anything like that. I just kind of pressed it out with my hand the best that I could. And again, here's a good example of it would have been really helpful to have a few more sheet pans, because I ended up putting these crusts on random Tupperware lids and other things I could find around my kitchen to be able to have these all rise. And I will say there is one way that was more desirable to bake these, but I'm jumping ahead of myself a bit. We'll get there in a second. So something else that I wanted to make to pop into the freezer was mashed potatoes. Potatoes are a pretty big staple in our household, and we do eat mashed potatoes about once a week at least. And so I just thought, because it's a little bit of a process to make mashed potatoes, it would be really nice to just have pans of them in the freezer to pull out and just heat up with my meal, that whatever meat we're making or other veggies. So I got out my big stock pot, and I decided to make this a bit easier to use red potatoes. Number one, they have less starch than white or yellow potatoes, but also I didn't have to peel them. We could just leave bits of the peel in there, and it just made this go a whole lot faster. So once the crust had risen, then I went ahead and put some of my homemade marinara sauce, which I'm almost out of. You can tell summer's getting closer and closer because I'm running out of certain things I need to do in my canning list for this summer, and I'm excited to share some of those things with you all. But one of those things is this marinara sauce, and I know that I'm gonna have to make a lot of it this year for sure. It's such a process to cook down marinara sauce, because if you want it nice and thick, you have to really cook it for quite a few hours to get that. So some crust recipes for the freezer are going to call to bake the crust first. This one in particular just called for putting the toppings on. So I decided to go ahead and just fully bake these, and then all we would have to do is put them in the oven, basically to crisp them up and reheat them. So here you're gonna see me putting these on cast iron skillets, and y'all, that is the way to make pizza crust. It is so good. I don't know, there's something about the way the heat is held inside of the skillet that I think just makes the crust really good and really gives it the texture you're looking for, just like from a pizza oven, from a pizza shop, or something like that. So before you go buy a pizza oven, give a cast iron skillet a try for making your pizza. And I think in the recipe she even suggested the fact that you could press this into a skillet and bake it that way. So I kind of pre-made them before I put them in the skillet, but you could totally do it that way. And of course, you could customize this with the toppings that you like. Because these were more of a trial for me, I wasn't going to go and put a ton of toppings on them in case we didn't really like them or whatever. So I just did pepperoni and mozzarella cheese. And then we are flipping back to our big, massive pot of mashed potatoes. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut up some butter and put that into the pot with this. We like lots of butter. And if you cut it into nice little blocks like this, it melts a whole lot faster. And then I like to use a hand masher. That's just how the texture I like for my mashed potatoes. Some people will blend their mashed potatoes. I know there's different ways to make them, but hand masher works just fine for me. Along with the butter, I'm going to put in some sour cream. Just give it that nice creamy texture. I like to really load up my mashed potatoes. I know some people prefer them with just milk and salt and pepper, maybe a bit of butter, but We love the sour cream and the seasonings and all of that. So, and of course I'm using my buttery steakhouse seasoning that I talk about all the time. That's my go-to when it comes to mashed potatoes. Now, for freezing, you guys could easily freeze this in gallon bags. I'm going to be putting it into the square, like disposable tin containers, just because I think it'll stack a bit better in my freezer. So you're going to pull it out of the freezer, and you have two main options on reheat for these. One is that, and this might be more of your choice if you're doing the gallon Ziploc bag, but one of them is you can put them in a pot on the stovetop and add a little bit of milk to them and heat them that way. Or if you're putting them in a pan like this, you can easily put them in the oven and heat them up that way. You may still need to drizzle a little bit of milk across them, but super easy on the heat up. Hey friends, same week, different day. I'm so glad I got all of that put into the freezer. And one thing I wanted to point out is that you don't always have to make your freezer preps absolutely massive. You can take them one chunk at a time, which that's the approach I'm taking this week. But I am going to head out and go to two new thrift stores that I have never been to before, and I thought I would take you along with me, see if we find any good thrift finds. But I have been trying to make my fun little drinks occasionally, some of the time, when I'm going out shopping and thrifting and things like that. I love stopping at coffee shops, and I definitely do, but I also really like making my own drinks. A lot of times I make them to where I like them better than the coffee shop. But anyways, all of that to say, we are going to go ahead and make one of my favorite drinks that I have been just like on repeat lately, and that is a peppermint matcha. And if you guys haven't tried matcha, I've talked about this before. I think I've shared a few other recipes in the past, but it's very simple to make at home. It's easier to make than coffee, and you can really just play around with it and make it to your liking, and you can try different brands of matcha. And that's usually the advice I give when somebody says they don't really care for matcha. I said you probably had the wrong brand of matcha, because it should not be tasting like you are eating grass off the ground. So this is going to be an iced drink, and I'm just going to show you how I'm putting it all together here. I'm going to pull you in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. Also, we are in a big comfy sweatshirt and sweats today, just a cozy thrifting day with a fun drink. That is one of my favorite things to do. So I grabbed my matcha powder, and I'm actually very close to being out of it, so I have enough here definitely to make another drink. Now this is where you can really customize it. For myself, I like to use about 2 teaspoons of matcha powder, and I'm actually going to put a little bit of hot water in here first. So since I'm making this iced, I try to go with the least amount of water I can get away with and still dissolve my powder. And I have a glass pitcher as well, and that one's a little easier for you guys to see, but it is not clean right now, so I decided to grab this stainless steel one, which I like too. So I'm just pouring that in there. Now some people do dissolve matcha in cold water, but I just find that it dissolves the best in hot water. And I'm going to take my frother and okay, so funny enough, my frother appears to be broken. So I'm going to grab another little whisk I have. So I have another little miniature whisk here, and I'm just going to whisk it all together. And there is such a thing as a real matcha whisk. All right, so to this, I like to add some vanilla stevia. And again, when you get used to making this, you can kind of decide how much of it you like to use. And then I'm also going to add some peppermint extract. And again, you can make this stronger or lighter depending on what you enjoy. I just think that mint and matcha, the flavors of these two things, go together so well. All right, so I did something for myself this past month, and I bought a pack. I think they're either a pack of 50 or 100, I can't remember, but they came in a big box of to-go cups that are disposable, so I can make my own little cafe drinks. And it took me a while to find these because I was looking at a lot of reviews because I did not want to go and buy a pack of 50 or 100 disposable cups that leaked and then like we just have to throw them all out. So I wanted some that had good reviews, that they were good sturdy cups and lids, and I found these. So they're perfect. I'll leave them linked below if you guys want some for yourself. I think that they are 20, actually it might say on the bottom. Yeah, they're 20 ounces. So we're gonna go ahead and put some ice in here. And I actually put a pretty good amount of ice because my matcha is hot and it's going to melt some of it, and it's going to help bring water, more liquid, to this drink anyways, so it all works out perfectly. All right, so I could also put this into a shaker or my hyper chiller, but I like to pour it over the ice, and I really try to make sure I'm pouring it over an ice cube so that the bottom's it's not hitting the plastic with hot liquid. So pour that in first, and I'm gonna do kind of a mixture. So first I'm going to go in with the Nut Pods Original Creamer, and this is unsweetened. Then I'm going to top it off with a little bit of half and half as well. Normally I would make a cold foam, but since my frother broke, we're going to just wing it. I like to keep a few of these iced tea spoons. I don't exactly know what they're called, but drink spoons around to stir up my iced drinks. And since it's not totally topped off, I'm just going to fill the rest with almond milk. Just perfect. Sometimes I have to add more peppermint because I just love peppermint so much. But this is fantastic. So let's go thrifting and see if we can find some cozy decor to make my home feel a bit more inviting. That's one thing I love about thrifting, is a lot of times the things don't look brand new, brand shiny, spanking new. And I think there's an element to that sort of gives a cozy feel to a home. It feels a little bit worn and just a little bit like somebody loves the home. And I think that brings just, I don't know, an inviting feel. All right, friends, I'm ready to show you some of my finds, It was a little less successful than I hoped, but I did find something that I am ecstatic about. Can't wait to show you. And one thing that I look for a lot whenever we're thrifting, and I've been able to find some of the absolute best toys this way, is I will look for things that are old or like don't work anymore, and we make them into toys. A great example of this is we found an old corded telephone. It's like fire engine red, but it has buttons on it. And my daughters were just telling me the other day that that is one of their absolute favorite toys. Like if they're playing, that they are running a restaurant or a cafe or, you know, whatever, they have their phone and they can pretend that they're answering the phone and all of that. And it's just one of the best toys. Another one I had shared on Instagram at some point was a really cool old coffee set. It had a picture and it said coffee on it, and it was like some sort of ceramic, I think, and little cups that went with it and all. It was a pretty large set, and I paid, I think, $10 for it or something like that. So it's so nice because you can find these things that feel real to them. Like they feel like real dishes, you know, and if they get broken, then it's not that big of a deal because you probably paid less for that type of item than you would an actual toy. So anyways, all of that to say, the find that the girls are most excited about is there was a shelf at the first place we went to that was marked 49 cents. It was just clearance. and we found this old camera, and they think this is the coolest thing ever. First of all, it has the strap on it, which I think is really fun, so they can wear it around their necks. And you can also see through the lens. The lens does open and close, and they can also open up the back where the film would have originally went in, and that is very exciting for them as well. So they have been playing nonstop with this since we got it, and just messing around with all the little things that is on it. There's just a bunch of little buttons and things like that, and you just would never be able to get something with this much realism. I mean, it's got, you know, some good weight to it. It's fun for them to just pretend and to use. And so, great 49-cent toy that they are going to probably play with until it's broken. And the funny thing is I've noticed that toys like this, I find that my nieces and nephews that come over also gravitate towards playing with those as well, like the phone we have. And so I think that it's something across the board that all kids love, real things that they get to use as a toy. And then another thing we've been super into in our house has been scrapbooking / junk journaling. It's kind of, we mesh them together, and that's been really fun. I am a huge planner, paper sticker lover. If you guys are new totally here, it's something that I've talked about different times through the years, and it's just been really fun to dive back into that side of me and getting creative with journaling and junk journaling and scrapbooking with my girls. And so something that we've been doing is when we go thrifting, we kind of keep our eye out for old books that we could tear the pages out and like cut little images out and things like that to put into our junk journals. And so we were able to find 2 on this trip. The first one is for myself, and I have a lot I can take out of this. I just thought this was so cute. When I opened it up, I honestly didn't even read the story, but I got the gist of the story. And it seems to be, the book is called Sometimes It's a Turkey, Sometimes It's Feathers. And it seems to be about a little old lady that ends up with an egg, and she ends up hatching a turkey. But what drew me to it is that most of it is done in this, or I should say the whole thing, is done in sort of this brown color with some black and then white. And there's just a couple pieces in here that I want to take out. I'll probably remove, usually what we do is when we get a book for scrapbooking and things like that, we actually remove all of the pages. So we have like a big stack of just like pages from magazines and old books and things like that that we can sift through and then cut them out, or just use the whole page as a background on a junk journal. But the page that probably sold me on this was this one with her little house. I just think this would be such a fun backdrop to a journaling, or else to make it a flap or something like that. And the old lady in it is just adorable. Like here we've got a cute window that could be cut out. She's got her little old like wood burning stove. She has like this one here I also thought was absolutely adorable. She's planting seeds in her garden. I don't know. It just took me. So I'm definitely going to play around with cutting like her out and some of the other bits and pieces in this that I think would be so cute in some scrapbooking. And then of course my daughters are always looking for things too. And we actually have a cavapoo. Come here, Zaylee. So she's right here. If you guys have never seen her before, sometimes she walks around in the back of my meal preps and stuff. I know. I'm sorry. I don't usually let her on this blanket because I'm always worried that she's going to pull like the knit up with her nails. So she probably thinks that this is great. I'm letting you here, right? So the girls found this book, and it says Poodles, Lightweight Litter Mates, and they thought this would be so fun to cut out pictures for in their junk journals. And so there's just all different types of poodles or poodle mixes in here, and obviously that reminds them of their own little cuddle bug, right? So those were great finds, but the true favorite find of the day. Right now I'm getting ready to make over our 1 bedroom in this house, and this basket, I am still just blown away that I got this basket for $12.99. $12.99, $13. It is huge. I'm gonna pick it up so you can see how big it is. The lid, it is in such good condition, like there's no breaking. I'm always looking for that whenever I thrift baskets, to see if there's anything broken on the sides. And fun little fact, my mom actually has been a basket maker in her lifetime, and I have a few baskets of hers that she's made, so I guess I get the love for it from her. It also has handles, one on either side and then one on the top, and I'm kind of thinking that we might use this to store blankets in the room that I'm going to be working on. I don't know, but either way, I think it's just beautiful. I love the colors. I love the green that's in it. It's just really pretty. I may even take it outside. I learned this past year that when it is very hot outside is a good time to wash baskets. You can just put them in your shower and spray them down really well, or you can even take a brush and actually wash them with, I think like a vinegar solution, and then set them outside in the sun until they're completely dry, and you're able to wash baskets that way. I did not know that. So anyways, I am so thrilled with this little thrift run, and actually we are leaving. Our flight leaves tomorrow morning to go see my parents in Florida, and so when you guys see this, we'll probably be there. But I am just so excited to go see them. I'm so excited to go to some of our favorite spots. In case you're totally new here, we live in central Pennsylvania, and then my parents moved to Florida this past year to be a part of a boys' camp school where the boys live there for about 18 months at a time. And so it's a really neat place. My parents are very involved in that. My mom cooks for their catering business that they have, and my dad does a lot of construction and other things for the camp there. So we're gonna help with an event that's at the camp, and then obviously we're gonna go to the beach and all of that. We like to go to the Siesta Key area. That's where they live near, and beach it while there, and just, yeah, we have a bunch of different things we're gonna do. So I don't know if in my next video I will include some clips from our trip or not. You can let me know in the comments if that's something you enjoy seeing in and amongst my normal content. But so I have to go and get the rest of our packing done and get us pulled together. I have a lot of plants to water yet as well before we leave. That is something that I always have to think about with all of my plants, is their care and if somebody needs to water them. But for the most part, I have my ways of making sure that they're watered. And yeah, so thanks a lot for hanging out with me today. Thanks for just cooking along with me as I got some things put in the freezer. That's always such a good feeling. And thanks for popping out for a little thrift run with me as well. And if you're new here, I'd love it if you subscribed and leave me a comment below. Let me know what you're up to this week. I love hearing from you all, and I'll see you guys in my next video.